Hello, I'm Jen. Today for English class, we're going to be making questions using are you. We're going to be answering the questions and then making suggestions. For the suggestions, we're going to use why don't you. Let's get started. First, we're going to make a question with are you and an adjective. So, are you thirsty? Are you thirsty? Yeah, I am. Why don't you drink water? That's a good idea. So this question starts with are you? Okay, so are you? You is the pronoun. Are you? And then we need an adjective. The adjective is thirsty. That's how you feel. Thirsty. Are you thirsty? I want you to repeat the question. Are you thirsty? Great. And then we're going to make an answer. Yeah, I am. Then a suggestion. Why don't you drink some water? That's a good idea. After the suggestion, you can make a response. I said, that's a good idea. Maybe you heard me say yeah instead of yes, right? You could also say yes, I am. But usually when I talk quickly, I just say yeah. I don't even say I am. I just say yeah. But for this video, we're going to say yeah, I am. All right, let's move on to the next question. Are you hungry? Yeah, I am. Why don't you eat a banana? That's a good idea. Great. All right, so I'm not sure if you heard the differences in when I said, why don't you? Or when I said it really slow, why don't you? If you say it quickly, which is usually how we speak, we combine the words, right? The words get smushed together, so the sounds get linked. And this is the same as how we did it before when we said, how are you? Or when we say many different questions or sentences. We link sounds together. So then the words get smushed. We call that reducing the sounds. So when we say, why don't you? We're going to reduce those sounds and we're going to say, why don't you? Let's try that again. Why don't you? Why don't you? Kind of sounds like chew, like you're chewing your food or chewing gum. Like that, chew. Why don't you? Why don't you? So it turns into a kind of chew or a j sound in there, right? Why don't you? And that's how we say it quickly when we reduce the sound. So I want you to try to say it that way. Okay? All right, let's go to our next question. Are you cold? Yeah, I am. Why don't you wrap yourself in a blanket? That's a good idea. All right, so for that one, I suggested that you wrap yourself in a blanket. So this is wrapping. wrap. I'm going to wrap myself in a blanket because I'm cold. You can also wrap a package with wrapping paper. So that's the way you can use wrap. Or there's another noun that's actually called a wrap. For a sandwich or shawarma, you wrap it, right, in bread. So that's also wrapping. So wrap can be a verb, like I used, wrap yourself in a blanket. So that's a verb, that's an action I'm doing. I am wrapping myself in a blanket. Or it can be a noun like a bread that you can also wrap. The actual bread can be called a wrap. And wrapping paper as well uses the word wrap. All right, let's move on to the next question. Are you tired? Yeah, I am. Why don't you take a nap? I think I will. That's a good idea. All right, so for that question, I suggested to take a nap. A nap is sleeping for a short time. If you sleep for a short time and then you get more energy after, we can call it a power nap. Why don't you take a power nap? Let's try that. Why don't you take a power nap? Great, good idea. I'm gonna do that after. All right, let's move on to another question. Are you bored? Yeah, I am. Why don't you practice English? That's a great suggestion. You can practice English with me. So in that question, I asked you if you were bored, right? Bored means that you're not interested in anything right now. Nothing is going on. You're feeling like just bored, like you have nothing to do, right? But you shouldn't be bored because you can always watch this and practice English with me. So don't be bored. Practice English with me. Great. All right, let's move on to another question. Are you stressed? Yeah, I am. Why don't you do some yoga? That's a great idea. So, stressed is another feeling. All of these are adjectives. So, stressed is a feeling that you could feel if you have a lot to do, a lot of pressure. Maybe you have so many things to do and you're just like, do I have to do everything? And yoga is a way that you can relax, right? You can do some stretches. This is not yoga, but you could do some real yoga. Maybe you could do yoga with Joanna on Wednesday to practice with your children and also to feel less stressed. All right, so today we learned questions with are you plus an adjective. We also learned how to make a response. Response means your answer to the question. So we said, yeah, I am. And then we learned how to make a suggestion using why don't you. Let's talk about that suggestion a little more. Why don't you? So the words are why, don't, you, and then the action. So in our first one, we talked about drinking water, right? Why don't you drink water? So the verb is drink, and the thing you're going to drink is water. So why don't you drink water? Faster. Why don't you drink water? Okay. This is a suggestion. This is something somebody is telling you you could do. So why do we use those words before? Why don't we just say drink some water? Well, we can just say drink some water. So let's try that again, that question. Are you thirsty? Yeah, I am. Drink water or drink some water. Okay, I can do that. Well, that wasn't as polite. That was more like a command. You were telling somebody, do it. Do it now. Drink water, right? And we lessen the strength of that suggestion by saying, why don't you? Why don't you? Right? It's being polite. It's not being as strong. It's making a kind of weaker suggestion to give someone. So we can add those words even though they don't have a lot of meaning. You could just say drink water. We can add those words as a kind of polite way to make the suggestion. Your voice also has to have the right tone to be polite. Because why don't you could also be rude, right? It could be rude. Let's see if I can be rude. What can I say? Well, I could say, why don't you be quiet? That's really rude. So why don't you can be a rude way to suggest something as well. But your voice will have the meaning in it. So you need to have the right tone of voice to make it sound nice instead of sounding mean, right? So remember, make your voice sound nice, like you're making a nice suggestion, and then somebody will say, oh, that's a good idea. They won't think, wow, that was rude, right? So you might be wondering, well, what if I'm not? Are you thirsty? No, I'm not. Well, what do you say if you're not? You can say that. You can say, no, I'm not. Or you can also say, no, I'm okay. That means you don't want the other person to give you a suggestion or to give you anything. You just say, no, I'm okay. So let's practice that with some of these questions. Ready? I'm going to ask the question. Then I want you to repeat the question one more time. Then I'm going to say, no, I'm okay. And I want you to say that as well. Okay, so repeat, just say, no, I'm okay. And then that's it. It's finished. You don't make any other response or suggestion. Okay, are you ready? Are you thirsty? No, I'm okay. Great. Are you hungry? No, I'm okay. Great. Are you cold? No, I'm okay. Are you tired? No, I'm okay. Are you bored? No, I'm okay. Are you stressed? No, I'm okay. Great job with these questions and answers. Let's go back and talk about a word I said at the beginning of this lesson when I was talking about the phrase, why don't you? Why don't you? I said you could say it slow or fast. Let's talk about the word slow because you might be wondering why I didn't say slowly. I said slow. For those of you who listened very, very carefully, you may have heard me use the word slow when I said say it very slow. And you might have been wondering, slow is an adverb. So why didn't she use ly on it? Say it very slowly. Well, I could have. Both of them are correct. Say it very slow, say it very slowly. You could say it either way. If you use slow without an ly as an adverb, it's called a flat adverb or a plain adverb. So some other examples of that are the word bright. You could say shine bright like a diamond. Or you could say shine brightly like a diamond. Both of them are correct. So you can say slow or you can say slowly. It's really your choice. Which one do you want to use? Thank you so much for participating in this English lesson with me. Today we learned how to make questions with are you plus an adjective. We also learned how to make responses, which means your answer, saying, yeah, I am, or no, I'm okay. And we learned how to make suggestions using why don't you. We also learned a little bit about flat adverbs. And I hope now you can ask some questions with are you. You can make a response saying, yeah, I am. And you can also offer a suggestion to someone using why don't you. I hope you liked this English lesson. If you did, please let me know. And if you want to know anything else, if you want me to explain something more, or you want me to tell you some more information about adverbs or anything else in this lesson, please let me know that too. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.